Live with the community. This is the Microsoft 365 and Power Platform Development Biweekly Call. Today is September 15th, 2022. Wow, we are into fall. My name is David Warner with Microsoft, and I will be your host for the day. Let's take a look at our agenda for our call today. We're going to talk about the latest updates on community, such as PNP.NET libraries, PNP PowerShell, independent publisher connectors. We're going to see the latest on script samples, team samples, Power Platform samples, and then what time will it be? Picture time with Together mode, everybody's favorite time. Then we're going to get to our all-stars of the day. Andre will show us some list formatting magic with Neomorphic design. And then Richard is going to show us an independent publisher connector on the Mockaroo demo. So we're super excited to see those two demos by our fantastic contributors. Let's first talk about some opportunities to participate in the community. Yes, this is your community, and we want you to participate. So how can you do that? Well, one of the first things you could do is what you're going to see today. You can demo a solution or a technical pattern on these calls, and that could be anything. It can be a solution that you've made, it could be a feature, it could be a script, it could be all kinds of tips and tricks that you would like to share with the community that you found useful. You can also contribute on GitHub. We'll talk a little bit more about that, but we've got a number of sample repositories that you can contribute to, and we're also going to show how we can help you do that. And then, of course, you can provide feedback. We always love to hear feedback, whether it's feedback that can be improved upon or what you're liking and like to see more of. We absolutely want to hear what is working and not working for you. So please don't hesitate to provide that feedback. Just keep it positive. We always like to ensure that everyone's encouraged. Now, if you do want to request a demo spot, we've made it easy. You can do that at aka.ms/m365pnp/request/demo. Well, we've got a number of resources, and we're going to go over some of these today. We've got 2 developer and community video YouTube channels that you can check out. We've got a number of open source projects around SharePoint, PNP, Office Dev, Microsoft Graph, things like CLI for Microsoft 365 and PNP PowerShell, a number of opportunities for you to take advantage of and make your tenancy and life in M365 better and easier. We've also got a plethora of sample galleries, all up M365 samples as well as team samples, SPFX samples, Power Platform, list formatting, SPFX extensions, and ACEs. Oh my, so many samples. But you only need one URL to get you access to this collection of amazing utilities, and that is aka.ms/m365/community. That will take you to our community landing page, which will give you access to all of these tools that you are able to take advantage of. We also have a number of community calls for you to take advantage of. The first we'll talk about is the Microsoft 365 Platform Weekly Call. Now, this occurs on Tuesday. It is presented by Microsoft with Microsoft-only presenters and demos. So it's a great way to get it directly from the mothership, if you will, see exactly what the latest and greatest news and features are, and make sure you get that on your calendar. You can do that at aka.ms/m365-dev-call, along with our other community calls, such as Adaptive Cards, Identity Platform, Office Add-ins, Power Platform, which we'll talk a little bit more about in a little bit. That is a monthly call. And then we've got the 2 biweekly calls, the one which you're on now, Microsoft 365 and Power Platform Development, and then its sibling Viva Connections, SharePoint Fabric. Those both occur on Thursdays at this exact same time, flip-flopping one another. And so you can get access to all of these at aka.ms/m365/calls. Looking at that platform call, which is going to occur on the 20th of September next week, we're going to have a couple of presenters, Adriana Wood and Liam Fernandez, talking about Introduction to SharePoint Online Admin APIs on Microsoft Graph. And our very lovable Gary Trender is going to talk about getting started with Teams Toolkit for Visual Studio. So we're very excited about that. You can download the recurrent invite at aka.ms/m365-dev-call. Now, as we're going to show you a host of things that you can take advantage of today, all these resources and opportunities to provide samples and contribute to, we understand that may be a little intimidating. So Sharing is Caring is a program that we've started that provides hands-on guidance for you. Now, what does that mean? It means that we'll set up sessions that you're able to join at no cost from a variety of times and topics, as you can see. And these are going to be safe space opportunities for you to interact with us, members of Microsoft, members of the community, other MVPs, and we'll perform all these accomplishments hands-on together. We're not going to record the sessions, so it's a great opportunity to ask any and all questions that you'd like. And in fact, one of the more popular recent newer sessions is Power Platform Samples Contributor, where you can contribute Power Apps, Power Automate, Power Effects, Power Pages. All the powers are at your fingertips to submit samples for. And we're going to be doing this live at the Power Platform Conference in Orlando next week. It is the first time we're ever doing a live in-person Sharing is Caring session. So it's a milestone. You want to be there because why? You want to tell your grandkids you were there, right? Excellent. So be sure, if you're going to be in Orlando, check that out, and we will have fun together. Now, once you do contribute, we want to recognize you for all the amazing work that you're doing. So we've started a recognition program. This is a community recognition program that is powered by Credly, the same Credly that you get those badges from when you get certified. Yep, we've partnered with them as well to recognize the community work that you're doing. It is no cost. We cover the cost. We've got a number of areas in which you can contribute. Power Contributor, you're going to get, our presenters today will get a badge if they haven't already. There's Sharing is Caring. There's all kinds of badges, script samples Paul will talk about, and we're working on a PNP PowerShell badge. And of course, guess what next month is? Hacktoberfest. So we're going to be creating a Hacktoberfest badge for all those that are going to be contributing in the month of October. So that's super, super cool. It's no cost. Again, we do need to opt in, aka.ms/M365PNP-recognition. We want to recognize you and all the work that you're doing, so please don't hesitate. You do only need to opt in once, though, and we will ensure that we track all the amazing work that you're doing from here until eternity. Yes, eternity. Yep, we're that dedicated to you. All right, let's move into some of our resources, PNP.NET libraries. So let's hand the mic over to Bert.
Thank you, David. So for the PNP.NET libraries, we have two libraries, PNP Framework, PNP aka. Aka is the new one that combines graph, CSOM, and REST calls and unified model. But for PNP Framework, mainly merging of PRs and bug fixes done by Ronald, Daniel, Ole, and Mr. Fran Bull, who doesn't give his real name in GitHub, so that's fine as well. Now the key thing here is the new provisioning schema. Paulo is working on that one. So we'll have, again, new features because SharePoint keeps changing and we need to keep adding new functionality to the provisioning schema. And so you guys can then provision sites with those new features. On the core SDK side, what happened there is in the NuGet packages, now we have the license information packaged in because we had some people that used, apparently there are tools out there that scan open source components. And if there's no license in them, then they say like, yeah, they flag it, you can't use this component, whatever. So we fixed that thanks to Landon. We support default column settings. So we can, on a folder in SharePoint, you can put the default column setting. We support that now. We support re-indexing of lists and webs. And we did some work to enable writing tests, mocking SharePoint in a test case using the mock framework. And there were some smaller fixes from Martin and Lewin and myself. And yep, I think we can then move to PowerShell. Gautam, up to you.
Thanks, Bert. In PowerShell, tons of stuff going on. So we are currently highly focused on the .NET 6.0 support. So work progress is there. But besides that, there are a couple of other minor improvements and bug fixes. So right now, if you want to connect to PNP Online, you have to use like HTTPS tenantname.sharepoint.com. So we actually removed the requirement for HTTPS. So it made it a bit more easier. What next? There was a feature request for enabling or disabling loop components. So we added that inside the tenant commandlets. And we also added support for shared teams channel provisioning in the add PNP teams channel command. Yeah. Besides that, there are a couple of other things related to add PNP field, get the PNP authentication realm, and also retrieving of the storage entity that we improved. So yeah, work goes on there. Besides that, Adam created a very cool Visual Studio Code extension, which is called as the PNP PowerShell extension, which will help you easily create commands and also view the documentation of PNP PowerShell right inside your VS Code. So if you're interested, do check it out. I'll post the link here in the chat. What next? Would love to hear your thoughts. If anything is missing or if you have a highly requested feature, do post the issue on the issue list or feel free to open them on the discussion channel as well. Thanks. Over to you, David.
Awesome. Thank you, Gautam. Very nice work there. Exciting stuff. Thank you for sharing that. All right, let's talk about Yo Teams. Now, this is an open source Yeoman generator for Teams development. The latest release is 4.0.1, and there's a lot of work being done here. There's a lot of opportunity for you to contribute, and you can learn more at aka.ms/Yo Teams. And help's wanted, as I mentioned, so don't hesitate. Microsoft Graph Toolkit. Now, Seb is still out taking care of his new baby boy, so congratulations again, Seb. When he gets back, I know we'll see a lot more updates here, but version 2.6.0 is the latest release. It is aligning all toolkit components to Fluid UI components is what's next on the docket, and there's more generic components and theming capabilities. Again, this is another opportunity for you to help out. There's bug fixes, building and improving features, and there's a lot of help wanted in good first issues. You can learn more about that at aka.ms/MGT/issues. This is one of the easiest ways for you to start plugging into the graph. These MGT components are super, super cool, super easy to implement. In fact, you can even do it within the React Content Query web part, which you can get in the SPFX web part samples gallery. So don't hesitate to take advantage of that and learn more. Next up is some exciting news around independent publisher connectors. So we'll hand it over to Natalie to fill us in.
Hello, everyone. Good to see everyone today. So just for some announcements, we have a total of 55 awesome independent publishers, 170 independent publisher connectors. In terms of updates, we do have one update from Tomasz on a connector that we've had for a couple months now. And then we have 4 new connectors, 2 from new people, so Miyaki and Shreyan. Shreyan has a proposal, which, by the way, you're allowed to do, even if you're not completely done with the connector, but you want to quote unquote claim it or just tell everyone that you're building it, you can always write proposal in the GitHub. And then we also have, in addition to Tomasz adding an update, he's also added a new connector called Working Days. And then Troy has added a connector for HTTP Gridden. And in terms of the We Need Your Help section, you know, there's always so many APIs out there that you can build connectors to. But if you're stuck on choosing which one to build, you can always go to the top connector asks in our GitHub, which we update frequently. And I also want to call out that this is actually, some of you have probably seen on Twitter already, but this is the last time I will be at this call, at least for now, in this setting of presenting on independent publisher connectors. This is an incredible community. I'm going to miss you all very much. And I'm sure I will be back in some other capacity. I am still at Microsoft, still in Power Automate. I'll just be more focused on the user interface for Power Automate. So if you ever have feedback on that, feel free to reach out to me as I'll be taking over there. But I'd like to give the time and space now for Jocelyn, who is the new independent publisher and verified publisher product manager, to introduce herself.
Thank you so much, Natalie. Hi, everybody. I'm Jocelyn. Just one huge virtual round of applause for all of the work that Natalie has put into this. None of the independent publisher program would have been possible without all of the hard work and dedication she's had. I just wanted to come and say it's super nice to meet you all. I am a 2-time Power Automate intern, but I used to be on the maker side, and now I'm over here on connectors. I am super excited to be joining this space. I'll put my LinkedIn and my Twitter in the chat. I would love to connect with you all further, and I'm really looking forward to collaborating in the future. Nice to meet you, everybody.
Woo. Welcome, Jocelyn. We're excited to work with you as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Welcome. All right, let's move over to script samples with Paul Bullock.
Thank you, David. So script samples is a great place if you want to share your PowerShell scripts or Bash scripts with the community. So the repository has been growing over the last year of its life. So we're up to 250 scripts now, which is awesome, covering things like scripts for the Microsoft Graph, CLI for 365, PnP PowerShell, SPO Management Shell, and more. And this is integrated into the Unified Solution Gallery to get that extra exposure. And recently, it's not on the slide here, but integrated into add-ons to extensions for the CLI for 365 and PnP PowerShell as well. So you install those extensions. Sorry about that. Install those extensions, you will also see the script samples in those as well. And we have 2 new samples as well. So one for the Graph PowerShell SDK from Nick Chubless, which is about the Microsoft Graph SDK common operations. So some great examples there of all the operations you can do with that library. And then SPO recover deleted meeting recordings by Jason Baxter, which is super, super cool. If you're looking to contribute or you want to contribute to the repository, then we've got some guidance on the site, or you can reach out to me on Twitter. I'm open to DM. So if you need to help get going, or you need that extra little bit of support, I'm more than happy to lend that hand. And if you need to get to the repo, there is a little OctoCat icon on the site as well, so you can get to the repo behind it. So you can get to that quickly. But thank you very much for all of your samples and contributions. You're absolutely awesome, and happy autumn, everybody. Over to you, David.
Awesome, thank you, Paul, and yeah, excellent work by all means. And friends, this is one of the easiest ways to contribute, by the way, because there is no high bar for you to submit some amazing sample that leads everyone to Wizard of Oz, right? They are so useful and so powerful, and even if it's the smallest sample, it is very, very powerful and useful. Don't hesitate to share it. We'd love to see what you've got, and Paul's an amazing repository maintainer there, so reach out to him if you have any questions at all. All right, Microsoft Teams samples. So there's a new sample from Marcus Muller coming soon. It works in Teams and Outlook, stores emails in OneDrive. They're working to include some new Teams FX samples in the browser. So definitely don't hesitate to check this out. We've inviting everyone. Samples are always wanted. You can check out the samples at aka.ms/m365-samples. And you can also filter those samples as well by going to aka.ms/teams-samples. So you're able to see all the samples as well as the team samples individually. And next is the Power Platform samples. Now, we've got a number of Power Platform samples in the pipeline. We're going to cover them in the next call. We're getting them all processed here for leading up to the Power Platform conference. But you are always welcome, aka.ms/Power Platform-samples. And remember, we're going to have that Sharing is Caring session at the Power Platform conference live, as well as the community call. I mentioned that there was that Power Platform dedicated community call. We're going to have that live at the conference as well, and that will also be the first of its kind. So we'll still have everybody joining in remotely from Teams. That's no problem. That's not going away for that call, but we will have a room full of people as well. So it's going to be a nice hybrid opportunity for the community to get together and collaborate live on that call. We've got 3 amazing presenters in store and ready for you. So if you're going to be at the conference, 2 opportunities to interact here within the community, the Sharing is Caring session, as well as the community call. Well, what time is it? What time is it? What time is it? What time is it? It is picture time. So we're going to ask Vesa to take over. And as the clock ticks by, we're going to check us all out.
What time is it? It's picture time. Let me put the video on as well. I can say David, I can say myself, I can say Jacelyn, I can say, yeah, Todd, behave. So, yeah, you're all wind up. That's good. We still have one more row waiting. Few more seats, 50 seats in a room. One more. Let's wait a few more seconds. I will put the recording on. There we go. Now we are starting to fill in the room. I will put the recording on, and let's do some hand waving, everybody. We'll grab a GIF animation out of this. Thank you for joining once again on the community call. We love to work with you, and thank you for all of the feedback what you provide on us across the Microsoft 365 stack and Power Platform, how to do things. Thanks, everybody. We'll grab a GIF animation out of that. Thank you. Good to see the faces again. And hopefully we'll see a lot of you next week in Power Platform Conference, which is sold out, which is pretty amazing. Right, David?
Yeah. Absolutely, it is sold out, so that is exciting, and thank you all for the dedication to show up there. So we're excited, and Vesa will be there too, by the way. So for those that didn't know, he will be there. Excellent. All right, it is time for our all-stars of the day. We're going to start with Andre on list formatting magic and neomorphic design. So Andre, feel free to take over the screen.
Okay, so thank you one more time to having me here on the meeting itself. So my name is Andre Lage. I work for a Swiss company that is called Datalinks, and today's topic is about the list formatting, and specifically for one subtopic that is the neomorphic design. As you may already hear, there is already this topic was mostly inspired by Christine Kolotsevsky, where she already created some controls for the Power Apps platform, and I also enjoy the way that was done and design itself. So here I really recommend to give a look on the work made by Christine regarding this topic itself. So I try to adapt. She made her own controls, and I try to adapt the ones for the list formatting, how we can use the current lists, and the formatting itself is already very expensive possible on the CSS and the HTML, and I try to create this bunch of controls that you can reuse on your list formatting. So what was done? So there was some analysis of the concepts and the goals to achieve when I start to create these neomorphic designs. I also would make some investigation, and I try to see from the HTML and the CSS skills how can I make the simulation? What is the concept? How can we create these 3D look and feels? And also the usage of some CSS styles with the boss shadow, where we can create these different controls. It's important that I also reference that when I created these controls, I'll use one from another huge member from the list formatting, that is Tetsuya Kawara, where I use the base of the work for the doc note, and I transform it also to be with the same look and feel on the neomorphic design. And then the idea when we create these controls is how we can use it and to paint it, or how we can implement it directly on the list, not only on the columns, but also on the views itself. And for that, we have a very simple view where we can have this visualization. But since this is also a technical, it's not only to draw the controls, but how we can use it. And here we can use the PowerShell for our own help. There is already some interesting examples on the PNP PowerShell team where we can import the formatting to the columns. So they are the content type hub, and they are the list template approach. So the content type, basically we create a group of these fields with this look and feel, and we can propagate for each sites. And the second one is we pick a list when we use it to activate and to implement in the site that we have it. I will create a very simple example itself. So let's go to the samples. So for each one of these buttons, what I have done, I didn't create really a button itself. I use a field type yes or no that will create the feeling that we are clicking on the button itself. And if the button is yes, we'll keep some deepness on the button. And I also try to simulate the buttons that you can already see when you go to the refrigerator or when you turn on the light. This is the type of simulations that you can easily identify on your daily work itself, not only on the internet, but on your real life. And this is what I try to simulate itself. And also the ability to have options. So when you have a field type options, we can have different options, and you can click on the button. As you can see, there is some type of deepness that gives the feeling what button did you choose, what option did you choose, and the colors will react based on that. And then I have also the ability to create the rate and to keep some type of shadow that we can see the rate. There are some deepness between the controls and how they can choose the different type of rates. Of course, we can say 1 to 5, but we can increase and decrease the numbers of the options. And also the same is then for the image. For example, when I pick a picture from my vacations, I put it in a way that looks like a picture that is in the wall. And when you click it, as you can see, there are some opacity where you have a little description and also the visualization of the pictures. The same can be done when you are using your mobile. For example, what is the percentage of the content that you already did, how many kilometers that you have it, what is your goals, and this can be also represented in a more deepness and that's a new morphic approach with the shadows that represent some type of deepness and the 3D look and feel itself. The same is happening with bars, where I create a horizontal and a vertical, where will give us the percentage of the bar, what is in that moment. As you can see between the bar, you can see that looks that is going deeper on the option of the bar that is appearing itself. And then this comes the last option that is a little more complicated. Basically, I create a column with a list formatting that simulates the calendar. So this calendar, you will be able to choose options and you can change the different months. How this was done? So this is a mathematical formula to calculate the day of the week. What that means? So, for example, today we have it to the 14th, and I need to know if this day is a first day. There is a mathematical calculation where I have the year code, the month code, the century code, the date number, and then I use the mod of the 7. Then this will give me, for example, for today will be the first day, and then use the rows to know in what the range rows. For example, the first row between 1 and 7, and the 7 to 14, and then I will paint based on that conditions. And then you have a full calendar using this mathematical formula. No complications. So just let's use really mathematical that we learned at school and just implement it using some painting itself. So let's go to the demo itself. So I just go to my example. I go to the site where I already have these options already implemented. As you can see, and like I said it, you already have this option, and you can change the month, and this will automatically reflect the day and the date of the month that we are talking about. And at any moment, we can return to the home day, and we can switch. The same for the rating itself, and the same way we do for when we choose the options or the buttons, how this will represent on our site. So if you have it here, you see there is all the options that we have in this column will be also representative. The same will happen on the option. As you open, you can choose, you can see there are already some options already predefined, and I can choose and automatically will be reflected itself. So there is already a very interaction approach of the different options itself, and you can click on the buttons, and this will give some feeling of that is clicked, that is disabled, and this is enabled. And at any moment, you can also create, for example, a card. Imagine you want to have a card. I want the 5 of hearts, and I want to change, and I will put diamonds. And this will automatically generate a card with the feeling on the 3D that you can have it, this approach. So let's go with a simple, more interesting point. So how can I use it for this? What I have done is to create an area where I'm going to draw using my columns in this formatting that I already have it. So for this, I will just go into expand, and I'm going to use the column formatted reference. This option, what it's going to do is on my view, I'm going to select the columns. They are already pre-formatted. So let's start to create, based on the area that I have it here, the different fields. So I will add the image, and slowly we're going to start to draw our card. So I'm going to create, and this will create also this option, and I will include additional one, also the rate, plug option where we have it, and let's see how it will appear with our calendar. Vertical bar, and horizontal bar. So let's implement and see how we're going to draw. We have a total new card that we can have our representation. Of course, I also create for this example a random approach. And what he is going to do is just to see how this content will represent, and we have it in a very dynamic way. So he will choose a random date. He will choose also a random bar option and also a rate. So we're going to see the interaction itself, how this will interact with our SharePoint site. So for example, if I go to my sites, I go to a site that already uses it for all my customizations. I'm going to edit, and I'm going to add my new morphologic list. So I'm going to select, for example, new formic. I'm going to edit. I'm going to just do some actions here, change. And I have it here. As you can see, since I created a card that specifically fits, this is how we can work and see our content. So in a very simple and better way, we can align and put it correctly how we're going to present content. All this, what we are seeing is all customization based on list formatting itself. And you can see how we can interact itself on the content itself. And this is how we can use, we can design, we can draw, and also this is the list formatting that I'm going to provide on our list repository where we can make the implementation. So this is okay, but now how can we use it, and how we can manage in a more IT and governance point of view? So what I'm going to do is to create a content type. So basically it's an area where I'm going to compile, I can compile all these groups, all these fields with this specific formatting. And for that, I have a specific script. And what it's going to do is going to connect to our content type hub. Is going to access to our list formatting website. So just going to access to our list formatting. And then I'm going to access to our JSON. And then there's an option that is called raw. We can copy the URL, And in this case, I'm going to use the calendar formatting itself. For that, I'm going to create a new field that will be called calendar demo, and I'm going to create this group of fields. For this, I will call it custom formatting neomorphic list. I will create the content type, and then I'm going to publish what on the content I have. What it's going to do is this specific hub is going to propagate the fields that are created to each one of the SharePoint sites where the users can edit in the future itself, and I'm going to publish itself this content. So just very straightforward. I'm going to activate, and I hope everything goes well. During the publishing, I'm going to create a sample on the PNP PowerShell with all these samples where you can be tested, all these options itself. So I'm going to the administration area, and let's give a look what was created itself. Oh, we have a new option, a new content type. So let's see what is there. We have the title because I associate to the item, and I have here the calendar demo. What happened on this moment? If you go directly there, you see the list formatting is already created here. What is great. So what will be my next approach? So since I already created the content type, I want to propagate to the demo site that I'm working here. So for that, I'm going to create a SharePoint list, in this case, a new list that is called PNP Neomorphic sample, and I'm going to access to this list. I'm going just to access it. Okay. Then I go to my list, and then I'm just going to include my new custom options. So I will have it here, a custom formatting, new formatting. I will include them. I will go directly to the list. Okay, we have it there. And then I'm just going to create my new control. So I will say this is example, this is example. I will create it. And then I'm just going to show. So in this case, and I have it here, the calendar. Of course, I did it for one field, can be done for multiple fields that you can manage and governance in a content type hub. So in an IT approach itself. So this is great. This is one option that we have it. Second option that we can also have it is the ability that you already hear from the other examples, the creation of a template. What I have done, so I create the site, I pick the list with all the fields that already have it, and I'm going to create a name that is easily identifiable to be accessible on our organization list template. So I'm just going to run the script. And this is also another sample that will be available. And when I go to the list, for our organization, we have here the new template with all these fields already pre-prepared where you can use it and to prepare the content itself. And the moment I create, this new field will be automatically available. Of course, if you go directly to the format, we have always the same look and feel and the content, how we can do on this content itself. And of course, this will also going to be representative on every SharePoint site. This is the examples that I created and that will be available on the list repository. Right now are only in public request. And as soon this will be available, you'll be able to also to download these options and to make the test. Here, the idea is to try to adapt different models and different systems itself, where you can adapt governance, talk with your IT, and also to create templates that you can easily implement and use it like I use it, for example, for the different templates and how to display the content. And in a multiple approach, because this format is not only to draw, but it's also how you're going to manage. This is what I wanted to show, also with the look and feel, with the design, and how you're going to approach on each point of the solution. David, that's everything from my side. I pass to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Andre. A cornucopia of features packed in there. So thank you for sharing that. And as he had mentioned, we're working through those pull requests right now. So keep an eye out for that at the list formatting repo. Amazing work, Andre. Thank you very, very much again. So cool. All right. Well, what's up next? Richard is going to show us an independent publisher connector. He's going to do some voodoo with Mockaroo. Take it away, Richard.
Thank you, David, and thank you, Andre, for your awesome presentation. That was wonderful. Yeah, today going to be going over if my first independent connector that I put out there. Natalie's been emailing me over the past many months to do something, and I finally got around to it. Decided to do it for Mockaroo, so a great website I've been using for many, many years to generate test data. You know, obviously we all work in an agile environment. Sometimes our customers do not give us spreadsheets when we ask for them of sample data and stuff, right? Or maybe it's PII or things like that, right? Where we don't want to have that in a UAT system or something. So Mockeroo has always been great for that. So decided to do my first independent connector on that one. Just to give you guys a little bit of background on me. I'm a principal consultant with Microsoft Federal. My full name is Richard A. Wilson. So if you ever see Raw on my stuff, that's why. These are all my social media links. Please feel free to check them out, subscribe, all that other good stuff. I try to post occasionally, you know, with as much Dynamics and Power Platform stuff as I can. I've been in this community about 16 years. Started off with Microsoft Dynamics CRM 3.0 and a little bit of 1.2. So I've been doing this for a little bit of a while and really have enjoyed the community and all the people that are part of this community. So thank you all for just being on this call. So Mockeroo, again, as I mentioned, creating test data, right, and generating all that test data. So some of the features here, creating saved schemas, being able to create a customized data schema. They have a huge, I'll use the word plethora again, of pre-configured data types that you can select from, or you can bring your own data sets. So if you have CSV files and other things that your customers are providing you, just lookup data, things like that, you can actually incorporate that into these data schemas. So you can use a little bit of the Mockeroo data, a little bit of your own. You can also generate mock APIs from the schemas you create. So, you know, being able to create a custom connector or something like that, right? And use a mock API to kind of test it out, you know, see what it's going to look like. As well as being able to save those schemas and data sets you're creating and share them with others. I put the pricing on here as well for the service. For the free one, you know, it's pretty much what I've mostly used for many, many years. You're limited to 1,000 rows per file or API call and 200 API requests per day. So, you know, for loading data into test systems and things like that, you know, you may not need to go past that. You know, I was working in sales at Microsoft all last year. So lots of demos, lots of just agile development to get those demos created and get test data put in there where I didn't even have data sheets from customers and things to get me going. So really been a savior. I've been using it for many, many years. So pricing on here as well. You'll notice these prices are per year and not per month. So pretty reasonable as well. Going over demos, I kind of wanted to split this into two different parts. Repeatable test data. So again, creating, you know, you set up a new environment, you need to get your test data up and running, or maybe you're creating a new feature for a customer, right? And again, you don't have any data to go off right away. So using Power Automate to create repeatable processes for getting that data in, loading that content. I'm just going to show kind of a basic flow of loading context into a simple model application, as well as just an advanced flow. So taking context accounts, bringing them both in through Mockeroo, tying them together, you know, so that your data is actually, you know, more relevant when you're doing that. So just more of an advanced one to help you understand that you can, you know, grab multiple schemas, put data together. The next portion I want to go over is just speeding up UI and UX development. So using this, let's say you're developing a Canvas app and you're a UI UX developer, you don't really care about the data structure right away, right? You just want to get something up. You want to get something looking good for the client. You don't want to have to create a SharePoint table. You don't want to have to create a Dataverse table because once you do both those, then you still have to load data into them, right? It's more of a very manual process. You can use these schemas, you can use these flows, and you can use Power Automate to just automatically have sample data flow into your Canvas app. One thing I was also going to touch on today too, for those of you who are not aware, there's a new experimental function called parse JSON available in Canvas apps, where you can actually take a JSON string and actually parse it into an untyped object. So I'll be showing that off today as kind of a little extra bit here. So, and there's also a great video out there by Reza Durrani on how to do this as well. So let me go into the demo. So this is the Mockeroo website. You can see the first thing you're going to get when you get in here, you're going to see a schema already presented to you, right? So they just give you a sample schema, very basic fields, ID, first name, last name, email, gender. You can preview this, kind of get an idea of what this data is going to look like, you know? which I like. Download that. You know, again, as I used to say, I used to just, before I created this connector, come here and download this data, go and do a model application, you know, do an import, an Excel import or CSV import and get it all in. Very, very manual, right? So the idea here is like, let's get this to be automated. So in this instance, you know, I'm actually going to create one just for context, right? So I don't need all these fields. I'm going to get rid of ID, get rid of IP address, gender. I'm just going to create first name, last name, and email. And I'm going to go ahead and add one more field. And I'm going to call this phone. And now types. This is where, again, huge amounts of predefined data types that Mockeroo provides test data for. So you need a fake base64 image URL, app versions, avatars, information about cars, right? A VIN number, commerce, credit card numbers, things like that, right? Obviously, if you're doing a demo or something like that, or just populating a system for test, you're not going to want to put in real credit card numbers, things like that. So location information, personal data, PII data, as I kind of talked about earlier, huge amount of stuff here. For this one, I'm just going to type in phone, grab that. You can see even once I've added phone, I can choose my formatting options. You know, kind of get international type phone numbers. I'm just going to keep it for more of a US type code there. Choose what percentage you want blank. So you don't have to populate everything, right? You know, if you want to leave 20% of them blank, really getting some real looking data out of all this, because I will tell you, salespeople do not always enter the phone number for a person. So go ahead and click there, kind of see what that looks like. Once I've created this schema, I'm ready to go ahead and put it into a flow. So I'm just going to go ahead and save this. Just going to call it test contacts. Copy that. We'll save it off. All right. Here's my little model app, right? It just has contacts, accounts, just so I can kind of see the data going in, just a quick representation of that. And I'll go ahead and build out my flow. So I'm just going to manually trigger this one. Come in here. We'll do Mockeroo. See the new independent connectors that's there, the action for generate data from existing schema. Just going to put in the name of my schema, choose my record count. Again, free accounts limited to 1,000 rows. If you don't put in this number, it'll just default to whatever you saved back in the schema. So in the schema, you can say the number of rows that are in there. So go ahead and put that in there. I'm just going to put 10 in for now. The one thing that this does not, unfortunately, that the API did not offer was a way to return a schema that Power Automate could understand. So one of the things you will have to do with this is use like a parse JSON action. So typically when building these out, I'll do a quick test after I've added the Mockeroo activity. And I will just grab this body here. I'll add a new parse JSON action. Choose the body output and generate from sample, paste in the body here. And there we go. Now I can reuse those fields and understand the data types for those fields. So here I'm just going to do a quick add a row. We'll choose our contact table. And I'm just going to fill in one or two fields here. We'll just do first name and we'll do last name. And because I use the parse JSON, it knows it's an array, so it already did the apply to each for all those. So I'll go ahead in there, just do a quick save. We'll do a quick test. And again, the idea here is I'm going to create this flow once, and I'm just going to keep reusing it in all the different environments I have. Just put them all in a solution, you know, and move them to all the different demo environments or other UAT environments that I'm going to be using to be able to bring this data in. So if we just hop over here real quick, we can see all the contacts start to come in. There we go. That was pretty fast. So, you know, just very, very quick way to make reusable test data imports using Power Automate. The other piece I wanted to show off again, same thing, right? I'm going out here, I'm getting my accounts. I'm getting 10 different accounts. I'm doing a quick parse on those to get the schema, getting contacts, getting 100 of those. Doing a quick apply to each on those accounts to add those accounts in. And then for each account, I'm just adding 10 more contacts and setting the first contact as the primary contact for the account. So again, just a little more advanced, you know, using that action multiple times to go get two pieces of data and connect them together. So the last part of the demo I want to show, again, for kind of UI, UX designers, being able to just mock up applications very quickly. right? This was an app I was working on yesterday. Maybe I'm a trooper out there going into some unsavory cantinas, checking out some droids, getting their information. I got to see, hey, are they on my most wanted list? So wanted to be able to just, again, not have to worry about finding images, about finding all these names and IP addresses and all that other good stuff. So use Mockeroo very quickly, and I'll show you how I did that. First thing I did, went into Mockeroo, created my schema, right? First name, last name, avatar. So again, all these different data types. This avatar data type actually returns me a HTTP address, a web address to a PNG file for an avatar. So very easy to use, right? I didn't have to go out and find all those images, put them in. Hobbies. This is where data sets come in. Again, uploading your own data and being able to reuse it. So I uploaded this quick data set called Hobbies, just a quick CSV I found on the internet to be able to provide me some data. And then I just chose my data type as data set column, chose my hobbies as my data set. Good to go, right? Some of the other things you can do too as well is this actually even does have formulas available. So if you want to manipulate the data before it actually gets turned into test data, you can do that as well. Went ahead and saved that, created a super simple flow, Power Apps trigger, and used the new Mockeroo action that I have. And then you'll see here, I did a response to Power Apps or flow. And the only thing I'm returning here is the JSON string output of this Mockeroo action. Now, if you're not able to use this new parse JSON functionality because it is experimental, right? You may not want to use it in your apps yet for production. The other way to usually do this is kind of use an HTTP response at the end of this and kind of do the same thing we did with the parse JSON action and just take the sample data you get from running the flow, parse that out, creates a schema. That way, when you attach this to your Canvas app, you have the schema, you understand the schema, and can reuse it within the Canvas app. So for this sample, though, I'm going to be doing respond to a Power App or flow. Once I attach that to my app, went in here, so on visible of this form, I'm using that new parse JSON function. Now, the way to get to that, and if for those of you who've been working on Canvas apps, this is going to be a godsend. So to get that available to you, there are two different things you need to do. Number one, make sure your authoring version is set to 3.22091.11 or above. So that'll get you access to the experimental feature. And then come over here to upcoming features, go over to experimental, down near the bottom, and you can do the parse JSON function on typed objects. So once you have both those enabled, you can go ahead and do that. So you can see here, all I'm really doing, I'm just running my flow, getting that response string, using that parse JSON function, which is going to return an untyped object. And I know it's an array, right? I'm bringing back an array of data, so I'm going to just tell Power Apps that it's a table. And I'm setting it here to a variable. This, I could also use clear collect or collect on here to turn it into a collection. I just chose to use a variable for this one. From there, just coming over to my gallery. Again, this is an untyped object, so I have to tell my Power App what the types are for these pieces. But I do get IntelliSense, or actually, sorry, thought I did. I do have to tell it what type it is. So I do have to surround this with like text or Boolean or whatever the data is coming back as. So same thing for, like you can see on my gallery pieces, just again, wrapping those values in the data type. So again, as a UI and UX designer, being able to create a data schema without having to go out and create a data table or create a SharePoint list and loading those things with data, huge advantage. I can just get this up and running, show this to a customer very, very quickly without having to go through that whole process. So just, another use case for all that I wanted to kind of show off. Go back to my slide presentation real quick. So again, my first connector I built, very, very, it was great to get back to the community. And Natalie's been bugging me about this for a little bit. I've built a lot of connectors in my time, but they usually just sit on my GitHub site or they are lost somewhere in some environment. So this was a great opportunity to just be able to get something out. It didn't take me that long to do. The independent publisher certification process in the MS Doc site was great. Thomas also has a great YouTube video out there that guided me kind of step by step to doing all this and getting me going. And then if you want to take a code first approach to doing this, Daniel Askowitz has a VS Studio extension, gives you a ton of snippets to kind of speed up that code first development process with this. And then I'm also going to be at the Microsoft Power Platform Conference next week in Orlando, so I hope to see many of you there. For those of you going, Troy Taylor is going to be having a build and submit an independent publisher connector in under 60 minutes session going on. So make sure you check that out. And thank you all. I look forward to being on these calls more, and as I get more connectors out there, which I plan to do here soon. Thank you.
Rick, very, very cool. Thank you for the voodoo that you do with Mockaroo, right? Excellent job. Really, really appreciate that. And very cool use cases. I think the comments are blowing up with all the new information that's been found here by the community. So thank you for sharing that. All right. Andre and Richard, thank you both very, very much for presenting today. Let's take a look at what we have next. The recording will be available in 24 hours on the Microsoft 365 Community YouTube channel. You can access all of those videos at aka.ms/m365/videos. Make sure you subscribe, because why? You're going to see in the teams that the video is ready to download. Unless you're a Microsoft employee, you're not going to be able to download it. But if you do subscribe to the YouTube channel, you will be alerted immediately when it's available. And no doubt we'll all be setting our alarms to wake up in the middle of the night and watch it again, because it was such amazing demos. So definitely check that out, aka.ms/m365/videos. Follow us on Twitter at Microsoft 365 Dev or at M365PNP. The next general dev call is in 2 weeks, September 29th at 7 a.m. Pacific time. And the next Viva Connections and SharePoint Framework is next week, September 22nd at 7 a.m. You can see all the community calls at aka.ms/m365/calls and get those downloaded invites so that they were on your calendar and you can all be here. Again, thank you for being amazing community. Thank you for the comments. Thank you to our presenters. Keep it up. We really appreciate all the work you're doing. Thank you again, everyone. For those that are going to be in Orlando, excited to see you. And for those who are not, we will be sharing on Twitter as much as we possibly can so you can still feel part of it. So thank you, everyone. Really appreciate all that you do in this community. We'll see you again soon.